Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Kai, and today I have for you a very special video. It is for this design here, which is a K-Pop Demon Hunters inspired set. So I watched this movie probably 2 weeks ago at this point, and it has been absolutely living rent-free in my head ever since then. I love the animation, the music, the choreography. I used to be really big into K-pop back in like 2015 through 2020. Kind of like third gen, second gen K-pop. I haven't really had the time, unfortunately, to keep up with new releases or anything like that, but this movie just was filled with so much nostalgia for me. This was my first time trying a portrait nail, so that was really nerve-wracking but also exciting. I definitely learned a lot, and I'm excited to try more portraits, character art because of this. This is also a PR video for this collection here. This is the DVOK Once in a Summer 3. Sweetie Nail Supply kindly sent it over to me to try. I'm not paid to make this video, but I just want to be transparent when I do receive free products. Now, I am never paid to say anything specifically about the products I review, but this one is easily my favorite Once in a Summer collection. I am such a sucker for like greens and pinks and purples, and of course like magnetic gels and glitter. So this collection was absolutely right up my alley. I was going to buy it regardless of if they had sent it as PR or not. I also on my own picked up the DVOK Unicorn collection because of course I had to. It's purple, it's glittery, it's sparkly. I mean, just look at how shiny, look at the fun range of textures and colors you get in it. I will show you the swatches even closer up when we get to the video, but I just wanted to thank the Sweetie Nail Supply team. They are the absolute best. Their customer service is amazing. I've been buying with them for a long time because I am a big fan of Korean Japanese gel products. That's a lot of what I center this channel around. So if you are new, if this is your first video with me, first of all, thank you so much for being here. If you like Japanese, Korean gel product, reviews, nail art tutorials, that sort of thing, vlogs, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate everybody who does. I remember feeling so excited to hit 5K, and that doesn't even feel that long ago. So just really appreciative of everybody who is here, who's watching, who uses my code. So I am a Sweetie Nail Supply affiliate. Code is GetPressed to save 10%. If you see any products today that I use in the design that you'd like to pick up for yourself, you can use that code to save 10%. And I also get a commission, which really just helps the channel out a ton. So yeah, I think I've done enough talking at this point. So let's go ahead and look at my design, the materials, and then get into the tutorial. Alright, so here's the design. I really wanted to focus on the character for this one. So as you can see, I pulled up a bunch of references. I initially was going to be super ambitious and do like a singing 3/4 view, 2/3 view. And so I pulled up some references from Sam Does Art. He's one of my favorite digital artists. I've been following him since I used to do portraits. Really pretty stylized portraits, characters that he does there. I scrapped that because I tried it, didn't work out. This is what I ended up with, which is more based on the poster art, the official poster art from the video. I actually drew this portrait twice. So originally I did not have that version. I had this version that I kind of like painted myself. I don't know, she's cute. It was based on this image here. Which, sorry, spoilers. This whole video is gonna be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the movie yet, go watch the movie first, then come back here. But yeah, I am filming this after the fact, so I've already made the nails. I do like how the portrait ended up, but I am curious as to how it would have looked had I tried this more like semi-realism style here. So I don't know, you let me know, which one do you like best? Do you like this picture, or do you like the other one, the poster picture that I ended up with? I am still undecided. So here's what I went with: the portrait on the middle finger with one of the unicorn gels in the background. I wanted to do like a tribute to the ending honmoon here with like the rainbow colors and some chrome lines, some gold stars. This nail here is actually based on Rumi's sword at the end. So I borrowed this like flower pattern and then tried to just fill in the gaps as best as I could. So the plan was to do more kind of like a subtle rainbow chrome effect here over a white background. I also wanted it just to match Zoey and Mira's costumes here. So with that rainbow chrome on the white background, I also had a gold flower charm that I knew would be absolutely perfect for this. So I wanted to attach the gold flower charm, hang some chains, do some piercings, and then this nail was going to be a purple background with Rumi's markings, her ending markings, so the iridescent kind of like rainbow ones. And then this nail, I wanted it to be an homage to this scene here. I was going to sculpt the gold frame. I changed my mind, however, and I ended up taking inspo more from the bracelet here. And so this one did change, but originally I'd wanted to do like a purple ombre with the gold frame. And this, do I have the picture here? I don't have the picture. There's a shot from the movie where there are these like purple bead curtains hanging down. I think it's at the very beginning. So that was the original design, was to do the purple beaded curtains and then do the 3D gold frame with a mold that I had. But yeah, ended up changing it. But yeah, this is a whole inspo board. I sketched this out pretty quickly, so I didn't put my list as I usually do and all of that. But by the way, if you ever want to use any of these templates, I actually have them available. I'll try to remember to link them in the description. They're Canva designs, so you can just go on Canva, make yourself a copy. You do have to make your own copy because I want to keep the master copies unedited so that everybody can use them. Make a copy and then just download the PNG, and then you can import it into any drawing software. I personally use Procreate on an iPad just because I like the brush capabilities it gives me. So like all of this was drawn in Procreate, so I can really get an accurate picture of how I want the nails to end up at the end. So yeah, that was the mood board. Now let's talk about the materials that I used. So to start off our supply list, I did want to show you closer swatches of the Once in a Summer 3 collection from DVOK. This was the package that was sent to me as PR from Sweetie Nail Supply. I absolutely love DVOK. I am a sucker for almost all of the collections that they release. I think they have really pretty magnetic gels. In particular, this collection has some of the prettiest magnetic gels I think that they've ever released. It's got a fun mix of jelly colors, of syrup colors. It has some just straight glitters. Like this one here is a really nice glitter with some iridescent flakes added to it. If you have season 2, this color here is just a little bit more orange than I would say the grapefruit one from last year. This pink color, I'm currently wearing it on my nails because look at how pretty it is. It's almost got like rainbow sparkles in it, and then that cat eye shift is just so stunning. The Scotch colors are reflective glitters, and this green is like the perfect springy green. And then this color really surprised me. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but it has so much depth of color, and the shift there is that nice golden shift that I really like. Purple Scotch is the one we'll be using in this design. It's another reflective glitter. Mojito is definitely a stunner. Look at how nice and shiny that yellow shift is. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Sandy Beach, but I could definitely see applications for it. I think it definitely does what it's supposed to do, which is mimic like a white sand beach. And then Under the Sea is just stunning as well. Look at how glittery, how much of a nice shift there is there. Again, this might be my favorite collection for Once in a Summers. And then this here is the Unicorn collection, which in the promo photos, honestly, it looked like it had less variation than it does in person. This is one of the times where I actually think the promo photos do an injustice to the collection. You get so many different tones of purple here, some that are more on like the blue end, some more vibrant, some more muted. In particular, I really wanted to focus on the 2 middle colors for the set that I was going to be doing because they fit the like blue-purple themes of the movie. This color also might have worked, as well as maybe the Magnetic Gel 54. But here's everything that I actually did end up using for this design. So you will want to get yourself some sort of base coat. I always base coat my press-ons just because I find the painting process a little bit easier after prepping them by either etching chemically or with a file. I also used this color here from the Four Seasons collection, DS42 I believe it's from the spring set, but I just wanted a nice base color to work on to add those glitters over. You'll also want some sort of milky white. This is Milkis from DVOK. When possible, I try to use the same brand so that they go together and the products just play nice with each other. Here's that purple Scotch, and then I forgot to show it, but I did use DG31 from the Unicorn set. This is that Bubbles gel. It's such a cool concept. It's got like the larger sparkles and then the flakes. You'll want some sort of matte top coat that is powder resistant for isolated chrome. So this is the DVOK Zero Matte. I'll be doing chrome 2 ways. So this is the Q-Ray 180 grit buffer as well. Any sort of really fine buffing block will work. For a lot of the chrome application, I was mixing this Nail Thoughts Chromic Clear Gel with some colors and it worked really nicely. And then I also use my Diami Mirror Powder Gel, the Silly Jello, for some of the designs. For actual chrome powders, I ended up using just some cheap Temu ones, the blue and purple, and then my Nicer Nail Bio Gold Mirror Powder. I also use this Blonde Blonde Fireball Powder. Unfortunately, you can't get it on Sweetie anymore if you're in the US, but I'll see if I can find a link to it somewhere. You will want a thin top coat, so this is the Mayo Glass Top. It's one of my favorite thin consistency top coats. You'll also want a thicker top coat for the chrome isolation. This is the Yogo Zombie Top Gel. It's a really nice thick viscosity. And then you do want some chains of choice, and then I have these little metal studs here that I'll be adding as part of the piercing process. And then for the bracelet design, I did pick up some thread here. This is, I believe, just thick embroidery thread. I got it from Michaels. You'll also need a variety of brushes, mostly liners and fine detailer brushes. So this one is an ombre brush that I'll be using to blend out some of the colors. You'll also want some liner brushes. Any of them will do. These are just some of my personal favorites. And then you'll want some fine pointed painting brushes as well. I like these Leaf Cute brushes by Diami, but any sort of like pointed round brush will work. I will be painting some with the ombre palette from YHH, and then also some with the MPA art palette. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I like them for different reasons. Either way, you'll want some opaque painting gels, and that is it for the supplies. So let's go ahead and get into the actual tutorial. So I have my tips already prepped in on my newsstand from Tamra. She is awesome. She makes custom nail stands if you want to check out her Instagram. And I'm starting with the pinky finger with the demon marking design, and I'm just going to paint on a layer of that purple color from the Four Seasons set. This is going to be an ombre, just covering where my nail bed would normally show on the nail, since I want to cover this in the glitter gel, but the glitter gel is a little bit transparent. I don't want my free edge to be too obvious under that see-through glitter, so this is just going to add an extra bit of coverage. Give that a full care, and then I'm going in with that glitter gel from Once in a Summer Season 3. You can see that the base layer that we did of the syrup gel just helps blend out that area where your natural nail would maybe show through if you were wearing the set. I do 2 coats of the glitter gel and then give this a top coat with my thick top coat. The reason I'm doing this is because I will be buffing the top coat to prepare for chrome isolation, so I do want a slightly thicker layer to buff away the shine. To do that, I'm just going to use that 180 grit buffer and just make sure that I cover the entire nail. I don't want any shiny bits remaining by the end. That way you don't have any of the chrome powder that's going to stick. And I'm wiping away the dust with a pad just wet with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Now to paint on her markings, I had this idea of doing kind of like rainbow markings and then covering them with chrome to get that multicolored effect. So I'm taking some of the gels from the MPA art palette and I'm just adding them to a glass palette, mixing them with a little bit of white to lighten those colors up. And then I'm also going to mix in a drop of the Nail Thoughts Chromic Clear. The MPA art palette gels, they will accept chrome even without any additional gel, but I wanted these to be more of a syrupy, see-through color rather than fully opaque. And then I'm just going to take a liner brush and paint on her markings. I'm going in rainbow order, so from pink to yellow to blue to purple, and just kind of like blending those colors together for each individual line. That way you get that cool kind of like ombre blended effect. I'm actually really happy with how this design turned out, even though this is unfortunately my second time painting it, because the first time I did not realize I wasn't recording. I'm using a new way of like monitoring my footage, and it had made me think I was recording when alas I was not. So that's why this video is also late, because I had to redo some parts. But once I had all the patterns painted down and looking the way I wanted, I gave it a cure for 30 seconds, and then I went in and tested out a few different chrome powders. This is part of the reason I did the buffing method for this nail, was because I knew I would be wiping down the nail, trying different chromes, and sometimes I find matte top coats can stop being as powder resistant if you wipe them down too many times with alcohol. I was looking for a very specific look, something subtle that would still show those colors through underneath, and so I landed on this Blonde Fireball powder. However, I did it a little bit differently, so I rubbed the chrome over the entire nail. It was still looking a little bit too strong. I couldn't see exactly that like rainbow pattern I had created underneath. And maybe what I could do in the future is just make that rainbow a little bit more vivid, have the colors be a bit brighter. But I realized when I was working earlier and wiping down the nail was that if you just lightly brush off the surface, it's going to get rid of the chrome on the very top of the design, but leave it around the edges. And I thought that looked super cool. It kind of like brought that rainbow out, but still gave you the shiny effect. So I just took a lint-free wipe, dampened it with a little bit of alcohol, and very lightly brushed over the surface. And then I took a makeup sponge and wiped away any excess dust, and we're left with this neat design. I actually really like it. I might start experimenting with this technique that I've accidentally found, but I went ahead and sealed everything in with my Myo glass top. I do recommend a thin top coat because this already has quite a few layers, so to avoid adding too much bulk, I love the Myo glass top. So I gave that a full cure, and that nail is actually finished. Moving on to the pointer finger next, I wanted to do this sort of like blended rainbow color for the honmoon. So I took the same colors that I mixed earlier, and I'm just taking a square brush here, just any sort of soft square brush will work, and I'm ombreing these together on the nail. Did a little bit of a color correction here because the yellow was just a little bit too pale. Realistically, it would probably have been easier to just take some syrup gels and blend them together. This concoction here that I made of the MPA art palette gels and the chrome gel it blended okay, but it did take a little bit of working the polish, blending it together to get it to look right. Syrup gels are really nice because they do blend together right off the bat, so in the future, if I made this set again, I would probably just reach for some individually colored syrup gels to mix instead of spending so much time trying to get this blend to look really nice and even. But at the end of the day, it worked out, and it didn't look perfect, but it was good enough. Which, by the way, I think was part of the reason I enjoyed the film so much, was that theme of, accepting yourself and not having to be this image of perfection that you think others perceive you as. I just thought that was a really great message for, something that is kind of considered a kid's movie, I would say. Yes, adults probably enjoy it, but obviously it had a lot of elements that were geared towards a younger audience, so I did really appreciate that theme. I think it resonated a lot with me. Anyway, here I am just buffing the top coat that we painted on the nail after the ombre was finished. I'm doing another isolated chrome design here. When I was designing the set, I didn't really think in my head about how much isolated chrome I was going to be doing, so it took a lot longer to actually execute than I thought, but I again mixed together a clear gel with the white from the MPA art palette to have kind of like a milky base to work with. Unfortunately, you can't really see it here, but I'm doing some curved lines that are next to each other, running parallel, some of them kind of deviating and swirling off of each other. This is supposed to represent the honmoon at the end. That is not going to be golden per se, but more of like a glowy iridescent rainbow. I know I've mentioned this before, but I just love doing these curved lines. There's just something so satisfying about it to me. So I give those a full cure, well, a 30-second cure in the lamp, and then I go in with that same fireball powder from before. I really, really like this powder, and it's unfortunate that it's not available on Sweetie anymore for people in America. I think it had to do with the tariffs. Blonde Blonde, I believe, maybe sources from China, and so those prices went up. If anybody knows where you can get Blonde Blonde products from, definitely leave it in the comments down below. But I added a nice top coat here with that Myo Glass top, gave it a full cure, and then we can move on to the next nail. This is going to be the ring finger, and we're going to paint on 3 coats of the DVOK Milkus White. This is the nail that's supposed to emulate their outfits at the end of the movie, the white with the gold, and specifically Mira and Zoe's that have the iridescent pattern to match Rumi's demon patterns. So this is just going to be the background. I'm once again painting on a layer of the Yogo Zombie top gel, giving that a full cure, and then buffing the surface to go in with yet another isolated chrome design. Guys, somebody needs to save me from myself, because when I planned out this design, I had all of these big ideas, and I didn't realize that it would take me 10 hours to do this one set. That's why this video is so late. I really wanted to get it out Sunday, but it just didn't happen. Anyway, I'm mixing together some blue from the NBA art palette, lightening it up and adding a little bit of that chrome gel again, just to have a syrupy blue to paint on the design. In hindsight, I probably would have added a little bit more blue. I don't think it was quite as pigmented as I wanted. But regardless, I painted part of the design and then went in and tested a couple different chromes to see which one I might want to use. I tried both the Bonnie Bees that I have, the blue and the purple, and I found actually that they were too strong. They're too good of chromes, so I actually just went in with these cheaper chromes here from Temu, and they actually gave me the effect I wanted because they were more one-toned. They didn't have a strong aura shift. But what I decided definitely during this process was that I needed to sit down and swatch all of my chromes. I actually recently bought organization cases for them, so I think that will be the next video. But here I'm just very carefully painting on the design with that gel. Unfortunately, you can't see it super well because it is such a light color. Next time I'll try to remember and see if I can use kind of like a brighter color so that you can see it better. But I'm just going in and very carefully using the sword from the end of the movie and Mira and Zoe's outfits as a reference for these patterns. And once I've cured everything, I'm going in with actually a mix of the blue and purple chromes. So I'm doing kind of like a little blend. That way you get that fun like shifting effect when you turn the nail and look at it from different angles. I do really like how it turned out actually. I would strongly recommend playing with blending your chromes. They do blend really easily since they're powders, and I think you can get a lot of really fun designs that way. Chrome isolation is such a fun technique, and I both love and hate it because it's tedious, but I think the results are awesome. Anyway, that is the base painting for this nail complete. For the middle finger, we're going to do the same as with the pinky and just do an ombre of that purple syrup color. Again, this is just going to serve as the background for a glitter. Honestly, it was entirely unnecessary because this is going to be the portrait nail, but I did paint on DG32 from the Unicorn collection. Unfortunately, I misjudged how big my portrait would be, and so it gets mostly covered, which is unfortunate because it's such a pretty glitter with both like purple sparkles and then blue flakes. Stunning. Anyway, I'm wiping it down and then going in with the white from my MPA art palette and a short liner brush. The shorter the liner brush, the better control you have for these like smaller details. So I'm going to just outline the general shape of her face, sketch out where I want everything to be, the placement before I try to start color blocking anything. This was actually going really well until I realized that I had placed the face too high and I wouldn't be able to fit her hair in, and I would have too much empty space at the bottom. So I did have to wipe this all off and start over. which is sad because I actually really liked how the face was looking. I think that initial sketch probably had better proportions than what I end up with, but I redid everything, and here's what it looks like after. So I gave that a cure, and then I did pull out my YHH palette. This gel is a lot more opaque than the MPA art palette, so I thought it would be good for at least painting on the base colors. However, I do think it's maybe slightly too thick, so I mixed in some of the MPA art palette gel just to thin it out, and then I think I made it too thin, so I don't know. It's hard to find a good medium between the two. The MPA is really good for shading and doing realism because it does have a little bit of transparency, so it blends really well. But the YHH palette is a lot more opaque, but it is a lot thicker and can be therefore a little harder to paint with. I'm still looking for a nice happy medium. I did pre-order the Starry Nails palette. That won't be coming out until November, but I'm excited to try it when it does. Here I'm just adding some shading, blending that out with a dry brush. Now, I actually used to do digital art and I did realism portraits. This was so much harder because you have such a small space to work with. I found that laying down the general shades first and then going in with the outlines and the highlights and the really dark tones after works best, sort of like it does when you're painting in a traditional way. The proportions on this were so much harder to do though because it was A, a smaller canvas, and B, a rounded one. So I am happy with my first efforts in terms of doing like a character nail, but I definitely learned a lot and I can definitely work on placement. One of the eyes I can tell right away is off, but I just know that's something that's going to improve with time. So I'm excited to try another portrait in the future, but probably not too soon because this single nail took me 5 hours to paint because I kept redoing things. I would paint it on, not like where it was, and then wipe it away and redo the details. So yeah, I very much relate to Rumi in that sense of being like a perfectionist and a workaholic, and wanting to put my best work forward. It's something I am improving upon though, and I am really excited to hone this new skill. I'm proud of myself for giving it a try in the first place. I think the next character I want to do, and actually the character I wanted to do before this movie came out, is Mel from Arcane, but we'll see when that happens. I have lots of plans for videos in the future. Anyway, for now, I'm just finishing up the details here, and I decided I wanted to add her jewelry, so I forgot to show this in the beginning, but it is the heavy metal painting gel from Ice Gel. Hands down, one of the shiniest metallic paints that I've ever used. I did have to order it off of, I don't even remember where. I know they have their own website now, I think that you can purchase from, but it is a gorgeous mirror-like thick textured gel. I just added the details and then top coated again with the zombie top because I will be buffing and adding a few little golden accents and of course her demon markings. So I didn't exactly like the placement of one of the eyes and I thought her forehead was a little bit too big, so I attempted to maybe hide that with some chrome. I thought I would like paint on her name and do like a signature. I ended up not liking it, but I went ahead and saw it through, put down the chrome, and it just felt too busy. It felt like there were too many details. So if you ever make a chrome mistake that you do not like, you can always just buff it away before you top coat. So that's what I did. I went in with a 100 grit file and buffed off most of the products, and then I went in with my softer file, that 180 grit, and did the final bit of buffing to make sure I don't disturb anything underneath. I make sure that those stars are nice and shiny, and then I went in with the MPA Art Palette White Gel, and I'm just painting on her demon markings. I can't imagine that they don't have a sequel in the works because I feel like they left so many questions unanswered. And I really love the lore, the world that they built. Again, if you are a fan of K-Pop Demon Hunters, if you can stand some janky animation, definitely check out Ruby. It was a web series that I started watching way back in 2013, Just be prepared for some outdated animation in the first couple seasons because it was really a small group working on it. And some of the jokes, they have aged pretty poorly, but I will say that in general, it's a really good show. I'm still waiting for the last season. Hopefully it gets greenlit, we'll see. But now we're on to the last nail, the thumbnail, and I'm just doing that same gradient technique, adding the purple color as a base, and then going over it with the DVOK Unicorn Collection color. This time I'm not taking it all the way to the edge because I wanted to use that Bubbles shade from the Season 3 collection to give more of like a clear effect on the tip of the nail. I forgot to film that part, but here's what it looks like. I think the two complement each other super well. And after base coloring the nail, I went ahead and used the thread to create the knot that made up the bracelet that was in the movie. This was, I would say medium difficulty. I had to attempt it twice, but I did follow a YouTube tutorial. I will link that down below. I actually followed a couple. If you just look up chrysanthemum knot, it's going to get you the main decorative knot on the bracelet. But this tutorial shows you how to make the bracelet as a whole, and I just love that something a little bit more traditional played such a big role in this movie. I remember learning how to tie similar knots, similar string art in Chinese camp over the summer. No joke, I went to Chinese camp when I was a kid. My parents wanted to help me learn more about my heritage. I feel like the title itself is a little bit corny, right? K-Pop Demon Hunters. At least that's how I felt at the start and when I watched the trailer. And some of the humor is a little bit over the top, honestly, for me. But I really enjoyed seeing how much culture was actually infused in the movie. I think that's so cool. Anyway, here I am actually going to matte top coat this nail because I decided I wanted to do some like golden floral designs to kind of match the floral decorations and appliques that the girls have on their outfits during their performances for Golden, my favorite song from the movie. So I take the Silly Jello and I'm just painting on those designs after topping it with the DVOK matte top. Since I knew I wasn't going to be wiping away chrome a bunch of times and experimenting, a simple matte top coat worked for this one instead of doing the buffing method. I actually do really like the DVOK matte top for chrome isolation, but only if I know I'm going to be doing like a simple one and done paint on the design, go over it with the chrome. If you wipe down the DVOK matte with alcohol too many times, the chrome does start sticking to it. So that's why I used it for this nail, because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to be testing and wiping away the chrome a bunch. So for these purposes, it worked perfectly fine. Just clean it up with a makeup sponge and you'll see that you get perfect chrome isolation. Now we're going to top coat this just with that Myo glass top. I also really like a thin top coat for floating over chrome because I find that that thin consistency doesn't pull on the powder too much and ruin the finish. Once it's cured, I'm just going to glue on that knot we made. Now, this set of nails is definitely more of like a statement piece for an event or for like a fun day out. I personally probably would not like apply it with glue and wear it long term just because it has a lot of tangly bits and this knot is fabric. So if you get it wet from washing your hands or whatnot, it's probably going to get a little bit gross. I mean, it would dry out, but still, I don't know how I feel about carrying around like damp thread on my nails throughout the day. So this was definitely more of like an artsy experimental piece, but honestly, those are the kinds of nails that I really like doing. I love creating almost like little works of art, things that sure, maybe super impractical, but look cool. Anyway, here I thought I wanted to add a little gold accent. So this is actually just a little like nail charm. But I thought the loops looked perfect with this knot, and so I just tied it into the decoration. I did a double knot at the end to keep it tight, and then I did go in and glue that double knot together afterwards. I just forgot to show it. Now for the chain accents on the ring finger, I wanted to do some dangling chains like on their costumes to complete the look. So I dug out a couple jump rings and this chain from Nail Bio. It's the 12 types of chain set on Sweetie Nail Supply, but you can realistically get chain anywhere. Anyway, my goal was to dangle this from the flower so it looked like it was like attached to the flower. So I took a jump ring and I threaded it through the chain in kind of like the middle of where I wanted the two chains to connect. and I tried to figure out how long it needed to be placed correctly, if that makes any sense. And then I cut the excess off, and then I attached another jump ring to the other ends because I'm going to thread that through the nail itself through a piercing. You can kind of think of it like two ends of a double layered necklace, where one is going to attach under the flower and the other is going to be drilled through the nail. So I took the one end, I glued it on at the same time as I glued the flower on. So I put on some of that Jinbei Ivy Fix Gel, placed the jump ring, placed the flower over the jump ring, and then I flash cured it all into place. I just like the look of that, of hiding the connection point. I think it looks really cool and it helps make it more secure. Then I'm taking a really small diamond cuticle bit and I'm attaching it to my Melody Susie drill. I really like this drill. I think it has all the features that you would need at a pretty good price point. It can pause, it can go forward and backwards, it's rechargeable so you can take it on the go. But I'm using that bit to drill directly into the nail to create the piercing hole. Now you do want this to be at a pretty high RPM so that you get enough torque to drill through it. I did end up taking the nail off the stand because I also go through the back end to kind of like smooth out that hole. And then if you need to, if there's extra product, you can just file that off. I love piercing nails and I actually think it's quite a simple process if you have the right tools. So once you have the hole and it's all cleaned up, then you can attach the jump ring on the other side of those chains and you have your nice little double loop. The last step is to just really secure that flower, so I went in with some of that Ivy Fix Gel and just went around the perimeter to make sure it was nice and sealed in there, and then gave the nail a full cure, and we are done with that one. For the pointer finger, I also wanted to add some piercings and some gems, so I'm just applying this little star charm that I thought was perfect for the theme of the set, flash curing it into place, and then I am drilling 2 more holes at the tip of the nail. Same process as before, just go in through the back to help clean up some of the extra product that you create when drilling. And for this nail specifically, I'm going to try something new, a new way to embellish and decorate the piercings. I actually saw this from Tamara over at Double Wears Press-Ons, but you just apply a little bit of glue around the hole, and then you take these little like circle studs and you use them to kind of like outline the grommet that you've created. And I don't know, I do think it looks really cool. So once I glued those on, I top coated the whole nail, both to seal in those grommets and also to seal in that charm. I did take a thicker gel on a liner brush and just went around the edge of the charm just to make sure that there are no pointy bits that are going to get snagged on things. And then I also took that liner brush and made sure to go around the grommets and not get any in that hole that we've created. Last step for these nails was just to apply the jump rings. So I did that with my jewelry pliers. Highly recommend getting some of these if you're going to be working with piercings. And we are on to the final nail. I decided I wanted some gold in the pinky finger too. So I did add a piercing here. I applied one of the little grommets, this time bending it slightly before actually attaching it to the nail. That way it would sit nice and flush, and this worked out really well actually. I would highly recommend it. And this time I actually attached a little chain. It wasn't just a piercing. I don't know, I kind of think I like the grommets when it's just a single jump ring as an accent. And if you're going to do like a full charm, just personally, I think it actually kind of looks good when you don't have the extra decoration, but I'll have to play around with it a little more, see how I feel. Anyway, I just attached that last little star charm that I thought was perfect for matching the aesthetic of the set, and we are done. Alright, so that was the tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed making it, even though it was very much a labor of love. A lot of experimentation. I'm super excited for my next video where I swatch all of my chrome powders, because this process definitely made it clear to me that it needs to be done so that I can spend more time just creating and less time trying to troubleshoot and test things out. So yeah, super excited for that. I should also have another haul coming up because I did pick up some things during some summer sales, and so I have some other collections to swatch and share with you all. So keep an eye out for that one as well. And then, I don't know, I have a bunch of designs going through my head that I really want to do. I want to do a set of claw nails so badly, so that should be in an upcoming video as well. But yeah, if there is anything that you would like to see, I really appreciate feedback. I'm always up for it. I love chatting in the comments down below. So let me know if you've seen K-Pop Demon Hunters, your thoughts on it. Are you a K-pop fan? Are you not? Did it make you a K-pop fan? I would love to hear. But again, I really just appreciate everybody being here. I am so grateful to be able to do what I love doing. I feel really, really lucky to be able to kind of like pursue one of my more passionate, creative hobbies as kind of like a part-time job right now. And just being part of such a positive and overwhelmingly loving community. That's what I've noticed with the nail community. Everybody is so sweet, everybody's so encouraging, and it makes me really happy to be part of that. So before I get too sappy and rambly, as I always seem to do in these videos, please consider subscribing. It really does help the channel probably the most. Leave your comments down below. I love chit-chatting with you guys, and I hope you all are having a wonderful day wherever you are. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hey, bug.